Okay, I had another question about autism as an eligibility category. All right, because this is where this crazy wonky term that some parents have heard of out there in the education world known as educational autism, as though there's some kind of magical different form of autism that just simply doesn't exist except within the school setting. And so let's clarify that with regards to what um, educational autism is, define that. And let's say, and let's also do, let's have a little analysis discussion on emotional disability and autism when anxiety comes in as a comorbidity of the autism. Okay, because you have different categories, for example, that rely upon um, uh, adaptive and behavior rating scales in order to even be eligible for those categories. That's other health impairment, autism, and emotional disability. So there's a lot of my clients that they'll have, let's say they have a diagnosis of autism, but the school will identify them as emotional disability. I am opposed to that. I don't agree with putting a mental illness label on something that's a neurological disorder. Okay, so this is where I sit there and I go, okay, the primary disability, for example, is the autism. But let's say that the kid has anxiety, and it's severe anxiety along with that. And a lot of schools will say, well, the negative impacting nature is the anxiety. It's not necessarily the autism. And I'm like, you're talking chicken and egg argument or cart and horse argument. All right, I happen to think that a lot of anxiety connected to the autism is connected to the autism and likely connected to the structure of the school day, which creates or contributes to the anxiety within that placement. Because I have many clients that their anxiety reduces down to zero or close to during the summer break. I have a lot of dyslexic clients that have anxiety as a comorbidity to their dyslexia, and then during the summer months, boom, no anxiety. Eureka! How the hell did that happen? It's because it's the school environment that is creating and triggering the anxiety. You remove that aspect, the anxiety is not there. So is it truly an emotional disability? No, because I would have to say and argue that an emotional disability has to have a continuity and a consistency across all settings. It has to manifest at home. It has to manifest at church. It has to manifest in the community. It has to manifest inside school. But to sit there and have a disability that somehow only manifests inside the school setting, in my viewpoint, is an artificial issue that has more to do with the current archaic structure of the school day and the inflexibility of that school setting, truly not individualized. That is then spiking what I consider a false positive. And in those cases, I don't really think it's anxiety. I'm acknowledging, I'm recognizing it as anxiety, but what I'm saying is that because it's not something that exists across all settings, we can resolve it by making those individualized adjustments to the child's day, whether that's through a 504 plan or an IEP. It's the resistance of the school that doesn't necessarily want to change its approach, its structure, and a lot of the times it's this myopic tunnel vision that they have that they can't do this for one, and especially the older the child gets. There's this idea of hard knocks. Life is hard. It's our job to sit there and prepare them for what's inevitable. I mean, you're going to have great humans you interact with and shitty ones. But I just don't understand why some school people take it upon themselves to prefer the shitty side of it. So that doesn't make any sense to me. They're going to become adults soon enough. And I think that there should be a preparatory thing, but I don't think it should be part of the planned curriculum to be a jerk and not think outside the box and sort of replicate what does work out there in the world. All right, and we don't do that in people in the workplace at all. In fact, I've argued many times that when it comes to these anxiety problems, in the workplace, we have labor laws to where you get two 30-minute breaks and or two 15-minute breaks and a 30-minute lunch. That's part of the law. But we don't do that with our kids to where we have 15 minutes of unstructured, it's their time, and 30 minutes of unstructured, their time. To where they can sit there and reset. And hell, I see TikTok videos of Chinese kids in their classrooms, having frequent breaks and movement breaks of joint exercise, sitting at their desks, just to sit there and reset. And we just don't do those kind of things in all of our classrooms. It's not part of what we do. And I think it lends to a lot of these problems. So this is where emotional disability and autism, that analysis, I'm not comfortable with having a neurological disorder classified as a mental illness. Being that mental illnesses originate from a different type of collection of issues, mostly. All right. That's just that. And then finally, let's go back to educational autism as opposed to an autism diagnosis. This is real simple. One of the factors to be eligible for an IEP is that you have a diagnosis from a psychologist or a doctor saying that this kid has autism. That's only one component of eligibility, guys. You also have to have unstructured and structured observations of the child. You also need the adaptive behavior rating scales that are filled out by teachers. One can be filled out by a parent as well, but we need the teacher perspective as well. These things typically are the things that keep a kid with autism from being eligible under autism. Because through structured or unstructured observations or the adaptive or behavior rating scales, if we're not seeing the negative impact and the need for specialized instruction of the child's diagnosis across their school day, then guys, the child doesn't need specialized instruction. There's not a question that the child has a disability. That's not what they're saying. The child has autism. But is it to a degree to where it's negatively impacting the child to the point where they require specialized instruction? Because that's the analysis for the IEP. It's not just the disability. You have to be in need of specialized instruction. Both have to line up for an IEP. If only one lines up, if only one lines up, then guys, that's accommodations and equal access under a 504, not necessarily the need for goals and services. Okay? Goals and services meaning specialized instruction. So that's the difference between the two. So when they say that the child doesn't meet the educational criteria established by the federal government and the states to a degree, all they're saying is that the child's diagnosis of autism does not negatively impact the child to a degree where they require specialized instruction in an IEP. It does not mean that the child doesn't have autism. It just does. They're just saying that it doesn't meet that secondary factor of specialized instruction to require the IEP. Therefore, they've sort of shortened it to say educational autism, meaning that, yes, you have a diagnosis of autism, but it does in fact impact the child to a degree where they need an IEP. That is the criteria to be eligible under the category of autism within the public schools. All right? That's it. That's a simple analysis. I hope this helped.